You ready for a real story? Let's kick back. Bring it.
All right, Kickback podcast, real people, real stories. Today is going to be a fun one. I have a good friend of mine, Eric Gloege, who's been with me on and off doing different projects for 25 plus years now.
Yeah.
And we happened to meet through a publisher friend of ours who it's kind of a funny story. We'll bring that up later. He was a publisher of a magazine, and then we kind of introduced way back when. So he's been involved in music most of his life, film and even television. He has a Grammy Award, a Tony Award, and we also share an award together. We did a documentary called One, which was with horses and at-risk kids. And we got a Bronze Telly Award for that one.
We did.
So, and then we also worked on a feature film with a friend of ours who's a director. His name is Adrian Leon, and that movie is Kindred. I had the opportunity to also play a very small part in that as a police officer. And that was kind of fun. But anyway, Eric is here to share a lot of the things he's done in his life, a lot of the places he's gone, especially in the music industry, and what was to take it to make it in the business like that. And we were talking earlier about some of those things that happen in the business. And, you know, people compare what goes on today to yesterday. And we were just talking about that before we start the podcast, about the fact that people today find it, you know, there's so many platforms now that they can get discovered on. And back in the day when you were starting out, there was basically 3 platforms. It was submit a demo tape. It was getting up on stage at a local rock and roll joint or something like that. And maybe if you were lucky, you knew somebody in a radio station that would slip your record in to get some airplay. Is that right? I mean,
pretty much. I mean, for the most part,
that was the playbook then, I guess.
It was. And it was, you could interchange, mix, match the order of any of that stuff. But basically, this was my life as a kid. It's like you wanted to be, because my dad was in the movie business,
right,
as a artist, cartoonist. So
with
I was
Disney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with
and
Disney.
I was too young to do that. And when a big director on the Universal lot asked me, because I wanted to work there, I was like 13, 14. I wanted a summer job. And he's like, come on in, kid. You know, I think my father was working on, he was one of the original pinstripers. I think he was working on like the Dukes of Hazzard's car. And
right, he was all striping on the cars and all those famous cars.
He did the Herbie the Love Bugs, the Batmobile, the Monster Mobile. He did, you know, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, all that stuff. But separate to that, it was normal for me to go to the lot and visit Dad after school.
Sure.
Growing up in Los Angeles. So this big director came up to me visiting my father, and he said, yeah, I'll put you on the lot. What do you want to do? And it's silence of the lamb,
right?
Silence of the clam, because I had no idea. I had no idea.
I was like, what are you going to do?
Put his hand on my shoulder and says, when you know what you want to do, you come back and see me. Because it put me on the spot of like,
sure, it's
I don't know what I want to do. So segueing over to music, you know, when I got a little older, I had tons of paper routes and did things to make money to buy my drums.
Sure.
I started working in a recording studio, and I learned how to, first thing you have to do is be a runner. You got to pick up people's foods. You got to like, you know, do errands.
It's like being a PA on a movie set.
Yeah,
you have to go buy coffee,
runners,
get the coffee and everything. Yeah.
And I worked at a pretty good recording studio, and a lot of big acts would come in and record their records back in those days. And so I learned that side of the business, but I thought, you know what, I don't want to be stuck inside of a studio. So that part, you know, I always went back to that first question of what is it you want to do?
Right.
Well, thank God for all the crappy things I've done, because now I know what it is I don't want to do.
That's a good way to say it, because when you start doing the crappy things, you start realizing this is what I don't want to do, and it makes that list shrink down a little bit. So, yeah, absolutely.
So I got with, you know, I was like, I want to be in a band. So now I'm like 16. I want to be in a band. I pick up this magazine called Recycler.
Every kid's dream, right? Being a band?
Being a band.
Yeah.
I want to be a rock star. I'll pick up the Recycler and the whole thing and look in there, and it's like, you know, singer looking for drummer. And I get on the phone, dial phone back in those
remember that,
days,
the old rotary phone?
You know, pick up the phone and maybe I drove. I'm not too sure. It didn't matter. But I got to the place and I did the rehearsal and met the guy and went in with confidence. And they're like, okay, you're cool, man. You look cool and you're young and we're young and let's do a band. So we did our own first band together. So getting back to that order, how it happened for us is you go in and do a demo tape. You pay for, you know, some recording studio.
Exactly. Make it sound professional.
Make a tape.
Yep.
And then hopefully you've got somewhat of a manager or maybe some guy that wants to help you out, do something. Cause they know a guy that knows a guy that knows a
Exactly.
guy.
Yeah.
It's the whole.
Or your friend poses as a manager, you know, oh,
Exactly.
his dad knows somebody in the industry, so he's going to be our manager.
Right.
Yeah.
You play we were a true garage band. We would open up my mother's garage, my parents' garage. We'd play in there and we'd have kids come over. We were like a true garage band.
Yeah. You're testing the audience.
We were in the garage.
Yeah.
We weren't just like sounded like a garage band. We were in the garage, you know? So, later on, fast tracking, 18, 19 years of age. By then I was in like 3 or 4 different bands because you don't know, like you think, I'm not too sure if this is going to hit. Maybe I like this style, like that style. And this was the same approach. But what we would do, we'd go down to Hollywood, Sunset Boulevard. You'd put on your rock clothes, put your hair up, use a can of Aquanet to look crazy. And you would walk the Sunset Strip. There were hundreds and hundreds of people that walked the Sunset Strip in a very small section of a strip between Gazzari's, and which is basically like Sunset and Doheny, all the way down to San Vicente, which was the whiskey. But on that street was the whiskey, the Roxy,
the Troubadour, and all places like that.
Troubadour was on Santa Monica. The Rainbow Bar and Grill. It's where the rockers hang out.
Viper over there.
What's that?
Viper,
yes, across the street down near San Vicente. And you would pass out flyers. You would make a flyer. You would literally go to a Xerox machine, make a flyer, and say, oh, I'm playing, so-and-so next week.
Right.
And the goal was to get people there. Hopefully you were good enough, you got a crowd. And then what you do from there, you would try to get a label to come out and see you, hopefully get a record deal.
Right.
It was that simple. Think up here, it was that simple. Wouldn't say it was that simple, but it was up here, it was real simple. So you do that, and we started playing Troubadours and whatnot. Well, we couldn't get labels to come out. We couldn't do this. So that you have to find techniques and gimmicks and all these different things.
Get ways to draw people in and hopefully get some sort of scout or agent or someone from a radio station.
The best thing was if you knew a girl that you were either dating or she liked you or liked somebody in the band and she worked with the A&R people at the record.
Right.
She would say, give me the tape. I'll give it to blah, blah, blah.
Slip on your desk. Exactly. Yeah.
Because otherwise your shit sits in a box. This is how they did it. The A&R guy would be like, I'm not going to listen to this stuff. It wasn't junk, but I just don't know.
I don't have time. You get hundreds of tapes.
So they would have the girls, the receptionists in the office, listen and go, anything good? Yeah, I got this. So we kind of slid our tape in. We got this, we got that. So one of the bands I was in 86, maybe, I don't know what date it was, but we got signed through a gig. And then it becomes sometimes a bidding war where other labels want you.
Right.
And then they call you in and we want to hear more songs and we want to take you to a private studio and listen to you and
look at your look want to see your look.
They want to see your look if you've got a vibe. And so we got a deal on Polygram, but we actually had a manager back in the day that she handled rock bands.
Right.
So she had like 5 or 6 bands. We were one of, she handled another band called Faster Pussycat, which became big.
Right.
Got signed. She handled Poison.
Yeah.
She handled Guns N' Roses, and she handled another band. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it got a deal as well.
Right.
And
not bad company.
Not bad.
I mean, it's a great little list.
Yeah. So our manager was connected. She got the people down to the gigs, and then from there it's individually based because it's like some of those bands became massive, like Guns N' Roses.
Sure.
And some of these bands like us, we got signed for a lot of money, $250,000 for
back then, and that year was
plus videos. Plus, all the stuff that comes with us. They flew us to London. We recorded at Abbey Road Studios.
Right.
We recorded at Rockfield Studios in Wales, where Queen recorded, and we were living large.
Sure.
Never made any money. We just were living large. We were dumb as a bag of hair.
You had the clout though.
We had the clout.
You had the clout.
We had the clout. We had the girls. We had the clout. We looked good. We had the vibe going on.
I mean, you were a surfer boy turned rock star.
You put on the eye makeup and you fluff up the hair, and we were all thin because we were young.
Sure.
We didn't know about overeating and scotch and baked potatoes and steak because we couldn't afford it. So
drinking a lot of beer.
Yeah, we weren't like that. We weren't like living large like that. We were just so that I wouldn't say that's that one approach, but that was the approach. But one of the 4 bands I was playing with that I had to end up leaving and joining because our band got signed was another unsigned band, but I was in that band for 2-3 years. It was called, I forget what it was called, like Perfect Strangers or Private Lesson or something like that. Or my bass player in the band is Robert Trujillo. And
Oh,
Robert
okay,
went
yeah.
on to do Suicidal Tendencies.
Right.
And now he's Metallica, has been for a while.
Sure, yeah.
So, I mean, he really made it big.
He did, yeah. I mean,
know what I mean?
He blew up.
He blew up. But the thing is, once you become that whole, like, kids growing up, and it's so different now, you're in Hollywood, you're in bands, everybody knows each other, everybody hangs out with each other. You go to the clubs together, you go to the rock clubs, you know the guys in Motley Crue because you're hanging with them. Nobody was Motley Crue at the time. Nobody was Guns N' Roses at the time.
Right.
Nobody was Metallica at the time. You know, little by little, they became Metallica. Little by little, they became GNR. They became,
Sure.
so they're still your friends. And whether you made it as big as them, it didn't matter because they didn't look down on you. And still to this day, they don't kind of go like, well, what happened to you? Like, oh, you just became a real estate mogul. Who cares? Like, no, you're just friends. They're your buddies.
Yeah, it reminds
They're your
me
buddies. They're all friends.
Guys from the group Zebra. I knew those guys.
Yeah.
And they were signed by Atlantic Records. They sounded a lot like Led Zeppelin, and they had a couple of big hits. I mean, you know, Tell Me What You Want was the one gold, but they didn't really make it. But they still had a lot of friends in the business. I mean, I used to talk to them when they would play the small venues still, even though they had music videos out, even though they had the big money from Atlantic Records. They just didn't get where they wanted to go.
Right.
But they came out at the time when everybody else was out.
Right.
You know?
Now looking back in retrospect, people, did I make it? Of course I made it.
Sure.
Because I made it happen. The thing is that
you got signed to a label.
I got signed to a major label. I just wasn't hired gun. I was on a record contract as a fourth with a label. I got the experience to fly across the world and make records at Abbey Road Studio, make records at big studios, know what it's like to release a record, know what it's like to be on MTV, know what it's like to do a tour, know what it's like to get on a bus. We just didn't sell 10 million records. We might have sold 100,000 records, but we didn't sell 10 million records. But it's still the same experience.
It's like somebody coming up from the minor leagues, getting in the major leagues, and they played for a year in the majors or even 3 months in the majors. You still made it to the major leagues.
You made it to major leagues.
You still made it to the major leagues. No one could take that away from you. And if you get signed by a label like you guys did, you still made it to the major leagues. Like you said, you recorded at Abbey Studios. How many people get a chance to do that? You get to go on tour, music videos. I mean, there's a lot of groups that are one-hit wonders that got music videos, that got money and things like that. So really, it's the same thing.
See, it's the same experience. There's no such thing between, you know, what it's like to really make it and kind of make it. And then, but one of the greatest experiences I had, which I learned from my father, because my father was a no frills. He didn't care about the notoriety and the publicity. Because
he just liked the work. He liked being a pinstriper.
And big. I mean, he ended up going on and meeting these people, Steve McQueen's and Sonny and Cher, and they found out what he did. And Steve McQueen's like, oh, well, you pinstripe my cars and my helmets and Evel Knievel. And he's like, yeah, sure. You know, like, you got money? Sure, I'll do it. You know, but it's not looking back that you're like I'm in awe over it. But at the time when you're doing it, I know that feeling because with that knowledge of making records and touring, you meet another guy and you meet another manager and you're like, I'm looking for a gig. I'm looking for this. And once you're in that circle, I always tell people there might be 1 million people trying to do it, but there's only really about 1,000 people really doing it.
Yeah. And it is a connected business. It's kind of like the film business. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've gotten in film and television because I knew somebody in film and television. So it'd say, hey, like you guys did. I mean, you guys were doing a movie and you and Adrian, hey, Scott, you want to come work on our film with us?
Yeah.
Because we all knew each other. So it's kind of like that small circle.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when the next project comes along, we'll call each other up and say, hey, we're working on this. You know, it's a reciprocating type of thing.
Yeah.
And you have that little core group and you work from that. And I think that helped you when it came to studio sessions.
Yeah. So,
I mean, heck, I mean,
I parlayed into that because when our band was signed, broke up, I wasn't so much the devastation of, oh man, I'm out of my band.
Yeah, what do I do now?
It's just that it's like, okay, I can go back. You know, I was finishing film school, but because I needed money as a kid coming up the music business, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, I worked in a restaurant. I became a chef.
Which was, you actually became a chef.
I became a chef, not because I wanted to. It wasn't like nowadays someone says, oh, you're a chef. I did it because I wanted good money because it was expensive. Drums were expensive. The studio was expensive. Everything was expensive. So I was like, oh, I'll do this. And I always had a really good kind of a kind of a subliminal marketing ploy going on in here. Like I just
Right.
wasn't too sure how it was going to connect, but somewhere I'll do it. And that's exactly how I parlayed from my business sense into my music sense into what my dad did, as well as I put myself, I always tell people now, because people say, how do you get in the music business? And I literally say, I don't have a clue, because it's not the way that we did it.
Right.
Because back then, I always tell people, well, if you want to be in the music business, maybe work in an environment a little bit closer to the music business than it would be a landscaper.
Yeah, I mean, even if you worked in a record store back then,
Yeah.
at least now you have people coming. It worked at a guitar center. I mean, I remember growing up, kids would work in the old Sam Ashes,
Right.
you know, and they'd work in a guitar place because you never know who you meet, because
Right.
other musicians come in to buy guitars,
Right.
or amplifiers,
Right.
or keyboards, or whatever it is that they're looking for. I'm the same in the film industry. I mean, I spent a lot of time going to different film schools like you did, but then you go put in and you do extra work just to get on a set. I'm going to sign up and be an extra. I get paid no money, but I'm going to learn what it is to be on a set.
Yeah.
And then you watch the PA, you watch the director, you watch the guy who's the key grip doing the electrical, and you start learning the job.
Go work at a production house and learn what it's like to wrap cable, learn what it's like. So, you know, when you get in that world and you have to pack a 1-ton Genie truck, you know what motors are, you know what span sets are, you know what cheese grills are. These are technical terms of all equipments, but like someone, you know how to put it together, you know how it works.
Yeah.
So when you eventually, much later on down the road, you become older and seasoned, you know, when someone says, hey, I can give you a 1-ton Genie for this a day, you're like, decent price. What's in it? Decent.
Right.
Or to say, way too much, brother.
Right.
You're giving me 10 C-stands versus 50, or you giving me, and you want to charge $5,000 a day for Gene? Like, come on, I'll just put it in the back of my van. It's the same thing in the music business, and you don't realize that until later on in life where it connects. Now, getting back, once I got out of the band, quote, my own band, I'm like, I don't think I want to do this anymore, because I don't like the feeling of, you know, dating somebody and it goes nowhere, you know?
Yeah, because you don't know
like,
what that
you have no control over your
Yeah.
destiny. So I went back to the studio and I worked in the studio. And by then it was the 80s and drummers were being replaced with drum machines, literally.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
nobody wanted a-
that whole drum machine sound was the big thing, and then you had to basically learn something new.
I had a choice. I could either go home and lick my wounds because nobody really wanted drummers, unless you were already a well-established drummer that was older. Because keep in mind, I was still very young. I was 22, 23, that I decided, well, what's this drum machine they're talking about? Well, it's this big piece of equipment, so big, it looks like a big mixing board with pads on it, and I learned how to program it. And then I thought, should I buy one? I don't know. Should I buy it? Because of a lot of money. I don't know. I want to buy one. But a buddy of mine who owned another studio, a pretty big studio, it was called Sound City, which back then Dave Grohl owns Sound City right now. He bought
Dave Grohl, okay,
he owns the whole mechanisms, and I lived 3 blocks from Sound City, so I was there all the time. And I've recorded records there. I've worked with some pretty good producers there. So at any given day, Tom Petty would come in, Stevie Nicks was there, Lindsey Buckingham, Fleetwood Mac, you know, Boston. I mean, everybody did their records in this crappy little area in the San Fernando Valley. You get your hubcap stolen if you parked on the street. That's how bad of an area it was.
Oh, jeez.
But it was a very, very good studio that looked like crap, but for some reason just had a sonic sound of perfection. Record companies would come there and go like, what are we putting our money into?
Yeah,
This
what are
is
we doing
disgusting.
here?
And then when they heard it, they're like, oh my God, this is... So some of the biggest records of the 70s and early 80s, Nirvana did their first record at Sound City. You know, so I worked there at times, met some guys, and I think, I don't know what it was. It was some producer that was stumped programming a drum machine. And I was like, oh, you do this, you do this, hit this and return this and run. And he's like, wait, pull up a chair, like sit down. So I'm sitting down.
You got their attention.
Yeah, and I'm programming this. In the meantime, it's like, oh, sorry, I got to run. I got to go pick up a Reuben for Tom Petty. I'll be back. You know, like, sorry, I got to go pick up some barbecue for people. I'll be back. And then you'd be kind of like, wait, get the guy to come in and, you know, I was the kid. Get the kid to come in and like program this. You know, and then I decided to buy one. And next thing you know, it parlayed into, you know, like graduating high school and running down to a studio, Capitol Records, Ocean Way, The Complex,
Right.
all these big studios where they were making big records. And I got called into a session one time to deliver some equipment on a Quincy Jones session. Didn't even know it was Quincy.
Yeah, you didn't even know it was Quincy
No,
Jones.
they don't tell you.
Yeah, they
And
just
back
say,
then, it wasn't
yeah,
a thing like it is now. Nowadays,
Sure.
with TMZ and celebrityism and everybody
Right.
phoning everything, and you didn't really care. You didn't really care what you were doing.
You didn't care, and no one knew what he looked like.
No one cared. So
You
you're
know?
down there, and I'm delivering some equipment, and it was a big piece of equipment called a Fairlight, and the guy who owned it
Right.
asked me to program it, set it up, and leave. And you get involved in sessions like that. I didn't know I was also playing ping pong with Michael Jackson that day because he was in a fullness. I was playing ping pong with this guy after I set up
Right.
the session. No one was there. There was this guy with this kind of big wig and a hat and a mustache and just playing ping pong and goofing off. And you're in the lounge in the studio,
And you didn't know it was
No, I didn't know it was Michael
Jackson.
No, we were just playing ping pong, right? Just playing ping pong.
Well, he was known for wearing disguises.
Yeah. I'll tell you why, because so we were playing ping pong, and then after a while, he goes like, I'm going across streets to Beverly Center because the studio was close to his big shopping center in Beverly Hills-ish called the Beverly Center. It's still there. So he leaves. I'm cleaning up. I'm waiting because I don't know if I'm staying for the session because remember, I'm not working the session. I was the runner delivery guy of all the equipment.
Sure.
The Lindro machine or the Fairlight and back then, keep in mind, there were no computers because we didn't have them.
Right.
You're talking the 80s.
Yeah, there was nothing like that.
There's no cell phones.
There's no phones.
There's no sampling. You had to sample bird sounds. You took a mic like this. You went outside, tweet, 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 tweet. You'd record it, bring it back in, put it in this Fairlight
on your reel to reel.
It would actually make these like paper floppy disks,
right,
so to speak. I don't know what they were, but like a
floppy, I guess,
like some weird floppy paper, like a thin record. And those were the sounds. I was setting up this session. I'm sitting around waiting for somebody to come in. Like, am I on this session, or do you need me? If not, phone the office or whatever. Because again, it wasn't like, maybe there were paid beepers back then. Not too sure because it's really early on. And they asked me to sit in a session, and you end up programming some stuff, and you don't get credit for it because you're just literally like, you're just the guy delivering gear, that knows the gear. It's kind of like if a med tech delivers a really important piece of machinery,
sure,
he's going to know how to work that machine that, circulates the blood and takes it out. But they're not in surgery. They're not doctors. You know what I mean? And
right.
So you just learn, you learn the business, you get to know people. If you were cool, the biggest thing was if you were cool. There were no cameras. You didn't carry around a pocket throwaway. You wouldn't live in that world.
Right.
So you go home, and it wasn't until later that you realize that, that was the session with, Michael Jackson's session. He's writing the song Human Nature, or he's Billie Jean.
Sure.
Or okay, cool. Oh, that was cool. That was really awesome. And you times that by everything you do in your life, if you're lucky enough to be involved in those because you found your niche. Next thing you know, you're in a session, or you're in the studio. And then because you're working in those studios, you end up talking to the studio owner or the studio booker and go, hey, I'm in a band. What would it cost if I came in like on a Sunday at like 8 a.m.?
Right, when no one else is there, and yeah.
Right. And because they like you, the relationship is built. They're like, you know what? Pay the second engineer who's looking to become an engineer.
Right.
$50 an hour, or $50, $25. Back then,
sure,
it wasn't $50 an hour.
Throw them something.
Throw them something. We'll give you a couple hours. You're like, oh, really? You tell the band, you come in. So you end up doing demos for a couple $100. You take those demos, and that's how that system worked back then. If I give advice to kids based on my stories, they're going to think, like, what were you doing this when Abe Lincoln was president?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? It didn't work. That's what worked for me, and would have worked for you too, because you were part of that era. And that era you hit the streets, you talked to people, you knocked on doors.
It was more grind. It was more pounding the pavement. You had to pound the pavement. I remember back in the acting days, I had to walk around with my 8x10s and go to every casting agent around New York City, around Hollywood, and hand deliver them.
Yeah.
And most of them ended up in a circular file.
Yeah.
But that's the numbers game.
Yeah.
and maybe you're lucky in getting representation. Maybe you get lucky. And, I did, but it took a lot of hard work. And even if you get representation, you're getting a background actor $50 fee, or maybe you're lucky you get one line where you get to say hello. That's it. And it ends up on the cutting room floor. But you're like, it's a grind. It was a grind back then. We didn't have the ability to send things on tape for auditions or social media, or do our own little comedy sketches on YouTube.
No,
things like that.
And casting directors and agents, they called the shots, much like record executives called the shots.
Right.
They were the red light, green light in the business of what's going to go down. And I'll never forget one time only. I never wanted to become an actor, but there was one moment, probably an afternoon, I thought, hey, I'll get some headshots, which looked ridiculous.
Yeah, they all do.
They look,
I look back,
absolutely.
I still have my original headshots.
Really?
I was like 19. It was embarrassing as heck. My smile looks horrible, but it got me work. I mean, but it was like the shirt I was wearing was totally 80s.
Yeah. Well, it was the 80s.
Totally 80s. It was comical.
And I went in and, okay, I got the photos, and this casting director says, okay, you're going to go in and you're going to read. I'm like, okay, I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
I'm just going to go with it. I go in there. They gave me sides. Didn't know what sides were. They say, oh, you're going to read this. And I didn't know you had to put emotion into it. I didn't know anything about this.
You had to act.
Everyone,
you had to act. You have
to act. I didn't know that. Everyone else is outside going like, I can't believe it. Like,
you have to do some acting.
Psychotics, because you'd see them like, what are you guys doing? Like,
right.
And I'm just sitting there not studying it, And keep in mind, I knew how to read. It wasn't like I didn't know how to read. I just didn't know how to read the sides and act out the sides. So I went in there, I picked it up and said, Jasmine, you can't do this before it's not going to Barry, you can't. And they looked at me like, what the fuck are you doing? You're Barry. You don't need to act out Jasmine. So you need to act like, okay, I blew it because, and then that's when I realized like, this is not me. And you know what? I walked out because I was already kind of in bands and
right.
And I just saw that was so not wrong. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's just not my thing. But the funny thing about it is being in bands, I was delivering some gear because here's the deal. And getting back to that, what I mean by like stay in the realm of what you want to do while you're trying to make it, or maybe you make it a little bit and you make a record, but you're trying to make money.
Right.
Go work in a field that's close enough to what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like with horses. If you want to learn about horses, go work around horses. Don't go work at Star Nursery that has no horses.
Right.
Thinking, and no diss to these places, by the way. Or don't go.
No, not at all. But
not.
You start out.
You have to put yourself in the arena of. You want to work for. You want to work with animals. Maybe donate your time at a vet or a shelter. You want to. So that's the mentality of the music. Is that.
Right.
So I forget what year it was, and our band was looking to get signed. I was doing the Lynn drum machine in the sessions, but I was starting to work for a piano delivery company, big in California, that delivered big pianos to Hollywood Bowl, the Mark Taper Forum, like big concert pianos, like 9-foot, 10-foot pianos, not these little tiny, rinky-dink pianos. So I've delivered some music instruments to a set. They were making a movie, and they had an actor up there kind of drumming. And I set up the drums, and he wasn't doing it. And the actor was.
So he was just acting like he was drumming, but he was an actual drummer.
Yeah.
So he probably had no background.
He had no background.
Yeah.
And I stayed on set because they wanted the backline delivery company guy to stay there, because once they struck, they were at like some empty club. Once they were done, they wanted that gear out of there.
You could just get it out. Yeah.
And it was still a long day. It was like a 10-hour day, but still they wanted what's like, don't go anywhere, because when we leave, we want it out of here.
Right.
So you didn't know about penalty times or anything like that. So I stuck around and I watched this guy play, and he wasn't hitting it. So I was trying to go up there and give him some pointers.
Sure.
The whole thing, right? And he kept messing up, and he'd dropping the sticks and the whole thing. And so I guess they went to lunch. I don't know what they did, the movie crew. And so I get there and I'm showing the guy like a quick lesson. Like, oh, no, man, you got to do it like this. Like, who knows what the song is, but you just got to fake it. Like, just do it. These cymbals aren't real. So when you hit it, it's like dead air.
Right.
They do it by doubling up the cymbals. So it creates like a dead cymbal sound. You got to hit a little harder, and you got to get into the groove, and showing them this stuff. Well, I don't know if it was the director or who it was, I guess somewhere in the background, because I went on stage with lights and smoke.
So he
you
was
don't know who's out there.
right.
You know what I mean? And he came up and he goes, can you play this part? And I'm like, play what part? And he goes, you're a real drummer. I need a drummer. And I was like,
that's the way
me? Like,
that's the
I'm
way it happens.
so not dressed for this
Right.
part. We got wardrobe. I didn't know they had wardrobe there. Because remember, I don't know anything about the movie business.
Sure, they're gonna.
I'm a rock star at that point.
Right.
My head, again, it's all up here. I'm a rock star. So he put me in wardrobe. The guy that they hired was just kind of like a day player extra. So it wasn't like I offended Martin Scorsese's aunt or uncle or niece or nephew, whoever.
Or some known actor.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was just, it was a bar scene with an 80s new wave band playing in the scene while the main actors were doing their thing.
Right.
We were background. So I'm like, sure, so not. And he goes, are you in the union? I go, no. He goes, all right, you can go what's called Taft-Hartley. I went, I don't know what the fuck that means, but it sounds good. I got paid more money to do that than I was getting paid on my gig to deliver the equipment. And I was able to, I didn't realize, but they helped me out. I was able to parlay that money into possibly joining the Screen Actors Guild.
Right.
Because you can roll that over.
Get your SAG card. Yeah.
So I ended up doing some other commercial bit as a musician, and I got into SAG. I didn't realize how expensive it was to keep it up.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm in the musicians
and the
union.
dues are expensive. It's
just like
trust me, I know.
You know, you can join the musicians union, the local 47 in LA for like $80 a year, or you could keep in SAG for $5,000 or whatever it is. And
I couldn't tell you about the controversy in SAG right now. It is big, but anyway.
Well, actually, a lot of actors are kind of posting things and going, should I go FICOR?
It's a mess right now.
FICOR,
yeah.
What should I do?
It's a whole thing right now. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But you're right. You're in the right place at the right time. You take what you know and you parlay it. Like, I remember the first time I got to use horses in a film. It was a Disney film a friend of mine was doing, and they needed someone to ride a horse at a camera. And the person they had didn't know how the horse could do that, and they were scared they were going to hit the camera. So I said, I can do it. Raised my hand. I said, I've done acting, and they said, okay, fine, jump on this horse, and I did, and I rode the horse at the camera, did 3 or 4 times, and they said they gave me stunt player pay. So it was nice, you just use what you have, and you put it in like they needed someone who looked like a drummer who could make it look like a drummer's playing, and they said, hey, you know what, you got the job, and from that I was able to then get more of the work from that, but being able to know how I rode a horse and I'm trying to get into acting. The door was open like, hey, you with the cowboy hat, can you ride a horse? Yeah, I can ride a horse. Can you ride it at the camera and not knock the camera down? Yeah, sure, I could do that.
Yeah.
Didn't know if I could or not, but I told them I could and I did it. So it's a great experience to be able to do that and make what you have work for you.
Right. And a lot of it is a combination of fake it till you make it, but also not being arrogant. Not being overly confident, being confident enough to be able to step in and drive the bus. Because as a drummer, so the bulk of my career throughout the 90s into the 2000s was I never joined another band again, ever. But through connections and managers and other players and other musicians living in LA, I'll never forget my buddy Matt Sorum. He was in Guns N' Roses as a drummer, but he always liked my band that had a deal. And he wasn't in a gig yet. And then I remember the day he told me like, hey, I got this gig with a band called The Cult. I went, good for you, Matt. That's great. That's awesome.
Sure.
Man. Congratulations, So he goes and does that. I do my thing. And then one day I ran into him in a club in LA and he says, hey, I think I'm getting this gig with Guns N' Roses as their drummer. He goes, I'll make the call. Do you want the Cult gig?
Right. The Cult, which of course is a huge group.
Yeah. So I went down and went to the big, the studio that the only studio bands rehearsed at in the San Fernando Valley called Mates. Everyone rehearsed there, from Scorpions to Guns N' Roses. Everybody rehearsed there. So I went down there and rehearsed with those guys, and then getting that gig. And then things like that some of these gigs are long lived. Some of them are short lived. You're a hired player. You go out and you play, you tour, you do a record. Over a period of close to 20 years, I've had a chance to work with multiple people from, The Cult to this other artist, Martin Page and Enrique Iglesias and Tony Braxton and Natalie Cole and Destiny's Child and and then you fill in with little people here and there. And sometimes you go out as a percussionist. Sometimes you go out. Sometimes you just go out and you get on the tour. Maybe this particular run, you're not a musician, but they needed you as a tour manager, or they needed you as a production coordinator or a production manager. And you kind of need to be well-rounded if you want to stay in the business. I always knew I wasn't going to be the main front guy that you'd see today. Like, I'm not Michael Bolton. So you would never see Michael Bolton become a tour manager.
Yeah.
But
or be like Tommy Lee in Motley Crue or something, like the main guy.
Right.
But you're the guy who's been on tour, or like you said, you can walk to a supermarket, and if there's a song on from the 90s or early 2000s, you hear yourself.
Yeah,
like,
I hear it all the time
I played on that.
Because yet again, back in the 80s, it was the limb drum machine. It was that session that you're involved with. So you hear a Taylor Dayne song or a Stacey Q or Belinda Carlisle or a song.
And those are all the ones you played on.
Yeah. Or
that you did the drums.
Yeah, I just programmed it. I never physically picked up sticks, but you program stuff.
Yeah.
And then the producer goes, thank you, good job or whatever. And then you leave. It was a session. You got paid. The ironic thing about it is that you get paid in the movie business, you get paid single, double, triple scale.
Sure.
Well, nobody gets paid triple scale unless if I was to hire Keith Richards or something like that nowadays, like, what are you going to pay me? Oh, I'll pay $5,000 to play on my song.
Sure.
So everybody got paid single scale. And that wasn't that much. It was like a few hours of work for $300. And you could end up, you didn't know at the time, you end up playing on some pretty big tracks.
Right.
That you don't really get credit for. You kind of do, but not really. You get the industry credit, but it's not like your name is in lights or
you're not getting the star credit
because it might say programming or it might say special thanks. I've got a million special thanks, but you end up not getting
the actual.
There's real limited room on the record, and we're not gonna put who played on it, because we want to keep that mystery, or we want to keep that. We don't want to give away that we had a bunch of,
Right. Or it's part of the star, like you said, whether it be Taylor Dayne or Belinda Carlisle. It's about them, not about their band.
Yeah.
And Belinda's, when she went on her own from the Go-Go's, that was like, okay, now it's about her.
Right.
It's not about anybody else behind her. You know, and that's probably why they did stuff like that.
Yeah. You don't put like the song, who wrote the song.
Right.
And where it was recorded and who produced it. And they might have sometimes, but not always, they'll have guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, arranger, programmer, etc. Sometimes they didn't have that, but you can't get upset.
Well, you got paid.
You got paid. You do try to fight for your credit, especially now. I mean, everybody wants their IMDb to look really handsome because that's how you get the gig. They want to see the socials and go, how many followers? You look at my socials, you're never going to hire me because I don't promote myself.
Yeah, you're not promoted like that.
You'd be like, who, what? You've got 900 friends? Big deal. They want people because they want to parlay off of they want your people. They want your advertising. They want but the business is still kind of that way. I was with some friends the other night for a birthday party, and it was kind of an all-star band playing, and it was some guys, Lost was on drums from Slaughter, and some of the guys from Kiss were there, and some of, they just, they're having a good time and jamming, so that stuff still happens. And sometimes you can put together a group, you can put together a super group a lot quicker because it's short term.
And isn't that like, like when you and I talked earlier before the podcast, these people putting these super groups together and then mixing players up, like you can have a lineup for like Quiet Riot. It's not the lineup it used to be, but it's different people in that lineup that came from other bands, or someone like even a Smash Mouth, or even somebody from another group that Foreigner. We talked about Foreigner. None of the original players around, but there doesn't mean there aren't players on there that aren't known. They just aren't known with that particular group. So are they a cover band, or are they part of the new band? I mean, at what point do you be considered part of the band?
Right.
So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting debate because there are some people that do, they're still radio DJs or whatever you want to call them that promote music. Excuse me, and they'll say, "Oh, I won't go see that band because that's not that's real. That's not real." It's like the old Foreigner's one of them because it was sanctioned and still is by one of the original
So they gave their blessing to the
original
whole
guys, and
the
he's still
lineup, yeah.
involved. He still makes decisions. Sometimes he goes out on tour, sometimes he doesn't. But they have found for the past 20 years now, well-known players from other bands
Right.
that you would know as it is, and they're really good. They're a really great band. Would I ever call them a cover band? I wouldn't, because they're friends of mine or I know some of them. So it's like,
Right.
I'm not going to call them a cover band.
Sure.
The average person that would be booking them would say, oh, you're a cover band.
Well, because you're not the original lineup.
Yeah. Why am I paying so much?
Right.
Why am I paying so much for a cover band? I mean, because Foreigner still makes good money. Styx, the majority of the guys are still there.
Right.
Unfortunately, the original drummer, passed away. That's not his fault.
You can't do anything about that. It's like Neil Peart from Rush.
Yeah.
You
he
know,
passed away. The bass player in
Yeah.
Styx, he was in a terrible accident years ago. He had in a taxi cab. So he suffers. It's hard for him to do the full length shows in
Sure.
every city. But Chuck still goes out and does dates with them. So he's
Right.
still involved. You know, two of the other guys, Tommy and the other guitar player, you know, they're still there. So they still tour. They have new players because they have to. You know, Cheap Trick, it's still the original guys minus the drummer,
Right.
Bunny Carlos, because it was his choice to come off the road. He wasn't fired. He just was done touring.
They get tired. Yeah. Some
They
people
just
just want
get
to
tired.
retire.
They wanna do
They
it.
want to have a home
But-
life. Yeah.
Cheap Trick, the drummer, is the guitar player's son, and another guitar player they brought in is the singer's son. But it's still the original band.
Right. It's still the original.
You know,
band.
AC/DC is still the original band, primarily because who's left? They
Right.
die. ZZ Top's the original band, but they can't help it if the bass player dies.
Right.
You know, Dusty dies. They can't help it if somebody dies. They get another player to come in. They still go. But there's some of these bands, like, you know, from God knows years ago, you know, the Grassroots or the
Right.
Letterman or some of these groups from a long time ago.
Where everybody's gone, but then
Everybody's gone.
and
There's
they're
no
all
original.
and they're all young people in their 30s doing it.
Yeah,
And
those-
I've seen that.
that
you know?
happens a lot, and
Yeah.
but people still go out there to hear the music, but they are a cover band, but they were sanctioned to do it, and they probably don't get paid as much as the original band.
Right.
But there's no way to do that
Because you're not seeing them, and they're all gone.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're all
It's
gone.
like the Platters, Coasters, and the Drifters.
Perfect example. I saw the Platters one time,
Yeah.
and none of them were the original Platters.
Well, they're all dead.
They were all
from the 50s.
but they used the name the Platters legally
Yeah.
because someone owned the name.
Yeah, and they can use it. Is there a distant second nephew in the band? Probably. But for the
Sure,
most part,
a cousin or
yeah,
something like
for
that.
the most part, they're not the original band. But
Right.
you're never going to see a true fake Rush out there because it can't happen.
Right.
You're never going to see a fake Van Halen. you know?
Somebody in there is connected to the group.
Yeah.
Like Survivor. If you would have pulled Survivor's Wikipedia, you see how many people were in the group Survivor, it would blow your mind. I mean, but it doesn't mean none of those people aren't professional musicians, and they come from other bands.
Right.
You know, and they played with other big name bands. Like if someone brought you in
Right.
to play with Quiet Riot, they're not going to say, well, you know, Eric is one of the cover band people. No, he's not. He's played with other major bands and his
Right.
own band
Right.
that was signed. You know,
Right.
so it's like it's hard to do that. I think that there's a good argument in
And
there.
Quiet Riot's a great example because, you know, the lead singer, Kevin, died.
Yep.
Frankie, the original drummer, died.
Right.
And the other two original guys, one of them's not in the band at all, but Rudy, the bass player, went back. He was in White Snake for a while.
Right.
He played with a lot of big rock bands. He's a sweetheart of a guy. He went back into Quiet Riot a couple years ago to fulfill the dream of the dying drummer because they wanted to keep the name going
Right.
because he can legally keep it going. Now, fans know Rudy Sarzo because he's an iconic name, household bass player, been in
Sure.
Quiet Riot, started with Quiet Riot back then, and he can legally do it. Now, the other musicians that enhance it they're not original,
No.
but they're not original. But
Right.
do people take offense to it? Well, I'm sure there are people online that stay enough on Reddit. I'm sure you're going to find some people that bash
And
them.
there's purists. Purists will go like, well, the group was better. Like take Journey, even though Pineda is a great singer. He absolutely did great for all
Yeah.
those years. There's those Steve Perry purists. The group isn't Journey unless it's Steve Perry. You know?
Absolutely.
Even though Neil Sean, who's been there since day one, part of Journey, doesn't mean anything. It's Steve Perry.
Right. But if you really want to be a purist,
You
you
know.
go back. Steve Perry was not the original singer. of
No, he
Journey.
was not. Yeah.
So it depends on how much of a purist you want to be.
Right.
I made that funny reference earlier. You know, I like Japanese food. I don't like fake crab. I just don't eat it. Okay. So you order something else. But when you're in there watching a band play, there's so many other bands. But I will say one of the largest problems I have with all of this is the ticket price is astronomical.
But yeah, because you're not paying.
Astronomical.
Yeah.
And it's, whether you want to go see a Raiders game at $450 a seat, people say, no, I can see them for $80. Okay, you're also changing the light bulbs and cleaning the rafters because you're not getting an enjoyable seat at the Raiders game to the point where I might as well stay at home and watch them. It's the same thing with with concerts. If you want to go see the Eagles at the Sphere, $500, $600 a ticket. Backstreet Boy, $400, $500 a ticket, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't care if you're because I'm currently in one place in Nevada versus, it's cheaper to go see him in LA or it's cheaper to go to see him in Phoenix. But like AC/DC the other night at Allegiant Stadium, you're going to pay. Now you can go if you're by yourself, go to StubHub and maybe find a ticket real quick for a last minute ticket.
Sure. Someone's looking to give it up.
Because they want to sell it. They don't want to lose that ticket for maybe $150.
Right.
You can't live your life that way. If you want to take your partner, you want to take your wife, your girlfriend, your sweetheart, your friends. You want to be a big baller one night. Say, hey, we'll go out and get some fake crab and go to Allegiant Stadium and hang out. It's going to cost you a couple $1,000s.
Sure.
Parking's $40.
Right.
You hate to be a cheapskate. It's not an old person thing. It's called common sense. It's like, why should I be paying a ticket to go see AC/DC? I would go pay Stones, AC/DC because they're going to be going away real soon. McCartney, Rod Stewart.
Right.
Just go see him but Bruno Mars is the same thing. I wouldn't go pay. No offense to Bruno Mars.
No, great talent. Great talent.
It's astronomical and there's many, many, many reasons for that. But without going down that rabbit hole, because that's more boring than it is anything else. I understand why it costs so much.
But and it goes like the Taylor Swift's getting $2,500 a ticket or $5,000 for a ticket to go see. Doesn't take away her talent. She's talented, but to pay that kind of money is just, it's astronomical.
Is it fair? Well, listen, life isn't fair. Whatever. Exactly. You want to be a Debbie Downer, but you want to see a great show? Drive an hour out to Laughlin because there's a lot of people like Kid Rock, like Tim McGraw, big acts that refuse to play Vegas because the ticket price is so high. So you could literally drive out to see Kid Rock for $85.
Toby Keith was doing that a lot.
Yeah, he did it all the time.
He was still a big star before he died.
Yeah.
But he was doing the smaller venues in the smaller cities more than he was doing anything big.
Yeah.
Because he liked keeping those ticket prices down. Jason Aldean does the same thing. Yeah. Likes to keep those ticket prices down.
You have to do it. It's not, will they make less money? It's not so much really about the art. Listen, the artist, when somebody says, I want to go on the road, a band like Journey or Guns N' Roses doesn't sit there and go, well, unless I come home with X amount in my pocket, I'm not going to do it. They might say that once it's presented to them.
Sure.
Here's the package.
Right.
We're going to do 30 city tour.
Right. What's it worth to do 30 cities?
You're going to fly in. Right. You're going to do this. You're going to locate yourself on one major hub, fly to each city, and you'll do 30 cities. It's going to amount to 60 shows. It'll be spread over. They get the whole outline. You'll make X amount of money. If they look at that number and go, wait, I'm going to do all that for $800? No way. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Now that's the extreme.
Sure.
But if they say, listen, these big promoters, there's only a few of them. They do these 360 deals, which means they handle everything, the merchandise, everything. It's all inclusive. You'll come home at the end of your summer run with $8 million each. Wow. That's pretty nice.
Sure.
That's why the ticket prices are so high, because you've got to understand, you've got to rent the venue. I could be here all day talking about boring shit like this.
Because you're four-walling it is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Which means you're paying for everything within those four walls.
Yeah.
No one's giving you that place for free.
No, and to get that Allegiant Stadium going, you got to figure you've got to get, it's not just permitting, it's the venue, it's the staff, it's the local police. You've got to pay that local police. Right. It's not free.
Yeah, their overtime is not free.
Yeah, you've got to pay the local police. You've got to do crowd control. You need to section off. You need to close roads. You need to do alterations. You need to have concessions show up. You need the unions to show up. You need parking. You need this. You need parking staff. You need to. So you take all those numbers and you put them on a big sheet and you realize, wow. And the venue might cost you $300,000 for the night. That's just the room.
Yeah.
That's just an example. I don't know that for sure, so don't
Right.
quote me on that. But you put all the numbers together and realize just to play Vegas is going to cost $850,000. That's the bill for the band.
And then you have to calculate how many seats do you have based on what you need to charge to cover that number.
Right. It's a 40, you could get 40 to 60,000 people in Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
But if you can only fill half of it and the floor, like you again, and you do the numbers and you offset it. By the time you realize that, well, our ticket prices have to be this number because this is what we have to recoup or pay the band. And then, so they can make up for it by charging a lot less in Salt Lake City, in Idaho, in Phoenix.
Yeah, because your venues are cheaper, your staff is cheaper, your day workers are cheaper.
Yeah.
It's going to come a lot at a better price. If I'm playing in Ohio, at a theme park there, you're a lot cheaper than playing the Sphere in Las Vegas.
Right.
And then if you're playing the Mandalay Bay in Vegas and there's only 15,000 seats at the Mandalay Bay, not the 60,000 at Allegiant, you got to figure out how you're going to pay for that venue. And you can only charge so much money per seat in a 15,000 seat house. So it's a lot for a producer or a promoter to figure that out.
Right.
And so, yeah, is it fair, some of those tickets? I mean, it's all relative, right?
Yeah, and it's smart. And there's some savvy people now that make good money, and those artists can make good money. And then you take the classic acts and you cut that concept right in half, and you don't have those, four-wall situation. It's something like the Orleans that has their own theater. They have their own booker. They get on the phone with William Morris or CAA and go, how much is it going to cost us to get Herman Hermits here or the Beach Boys or whoever?
Yeah, I think the M does that too. I mean, they just call up, like you say, William Morris or someone like that and says, hey, how much can I get this act for?
Yep.
One lump sum, boom. What's it going to cost me to have room for one night on a weekend?
Right. And then you've got to factor all that in and do that. So that's the, I learned that side of touring because there were times where, I didn't want to just be a drummer. And I know people that are just musicians and I talk to them all the time and I'll say, man, why you you're bummed out? Like you're going from gig to gig and you're bummed. You're like, I don't know if I'm going to work again or I don't want to how could you be 50? How can you be 55, kissing 60 and still you haven't figured out the formula? Not everybody has to be a promoter, a booker, a hustler. It's not about hustling, but you've got to be smart enough to know what works for you in your wheelhouse and how to make it work. I mean, what is the formula? Sometimes, there's been times where I didn't want to tour and want to take the summer off. So I was like, you know what? I'll teach drums.
Right.
What's my number I need? All right, I need 15 students to make it worth my while. So I'll do that and do it. Have fun with it teaching, it's things like that you got to learn how to, it's the same thing with movie making. I mean,
well, it is. You can be an actor, a starving actor, or you can learn what it is to produce a film, what it is to be a director on a film, what it is to work all the other jobs on a film, location manager, whatever it may be. To help supplement that time that you're not getting work as an actor. And a lot of well-known actors did that. I mean, they after a TV show ended, they ended up working on the lighting on a next TV show because their money ran out.
Right.
The fame only won so far. Michael Lookingland did that after Brady Bunch. I mean, he ended up working the lighting in Hollywood and because he didn't get any more acting jobs.
But a lot of them are afraid to. There's no musicians union. I take that back. There's a musicians union, but there's no union with a knife to your throat.
Right.
That you could do. Music business people are probably some of the most laid back people ever because we're just musicians. We're just laid back. We're cool. We can pick up a guitar. We don't need to make a big deal out of it. You just can't go out and act. You can have workshops.
Sure.
They have acting classes and workshops, but musicians, we can sit around and jam. Some friends come in, smoke some cigars, pour some whiskey, do jamming. And that's fun. People walk away, oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
If someone said, hey, we're going to do that, but replace the musicians with actors, I'd be like, okay, why? Like what? Like it doesn't really work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't translate. Maybe if they do like a spoken word thing or they do a quick scene out of The Godfather, like, oh, bravo, that was amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's the actors now. We had that situation with Kindred, Scott, when we called you up because we needed a real specific thing done and we wanted to bring you on board as it is and kind of keep the friendship together. But we couldn't get a big name actor because everyone was afraid to do something against their union,
Sure.
SAG. Oh, if SAG finds out, I'm going to get kicked out. I'm thinking to myself, God, man, that so doesn't work that way in the music business at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe if you're, in a big band, you need to get permission from your manager to go sing on someone else's record. You
Sure.
get your hand slapped. But so we went with actors that weren't afraid. So we had to do an independent film, or actors that were FICOR, or actors that, and nowadays, like you said, everybody's really thinking like, gosh, do I, you know, a lot of actors on Hallmark, that is FICOR, so it's not SAG.
Sure.
So you
Yeah.
see a lot of big name actors that do that. And I think it's starting to loosen up a bit because the industry, it's not, I don't feel it's drying up. It's just that it's so spread out.
Well, it's shifting a little bit. I mean, it's starting to evolve a little bit more, only because the actors specifically are getting more vocal.
Yeah.
And they're fighting back a little bit. And now
They wanna work.
everybody, it is. And now a lot of people doing independent. I mean, a lot of people are making independent. They're not only making independent, but they're writing, starring, directing, and producing their own projects.
Yeah.
And they're doing their own shorts, and they're doing it through YouTube. They're doing it through all these other platforms, and all these streaming distributors are out there. So it has changed the game a lot, where they can have a lot more access to getting out there without having to go the traditional SAG route.
Right.
Or the Producers Guild route, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I think it's gotten a little bit more loose, where it's almost kind of like you're a musician. You can be a little bit more of a freelancer, still do well, still hook up with the big names, and have something out there.
Right.
As opposed to someone holding, like you said, holding you back with a knife to your throat. Saying,
well, and it's interesting because like, the business, I know the business, and sometimes, God bless our parents, but my parents have since passed. But I always remember either my father, my mother, they'd see a big star doing a State Farm commercial or doing something. And like my father would immediately like, well, his career is his career is not doing too well, is it? I'm thinking, no, his career is actually doing really good because first off, they want to work. And it's not embarrassing. It doesn't portray them and depict them in a bad way. And you hit a national spot. I remember years ago singing with a jingle company. If you wrote a jingle or got a chance to get on the vocal contract, they'd only let like five names on the vocal contract. You got residuals. And sometimes back in the days, you sing on a Miller Lite commercial or a Campbell Soup commercial or a Folgers commercial. And that was national. You were getting checks for $100,000 a year, 80,000, 60,000.
And people don't realize in these
50,000,
jingles, some really well-known names are singing these jingles.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize that.
Absolutely. And even voiceover work now, you get, a well-known name does Home Depot, a well-known name does Morgan Freeman. It's not that their career is teetering off. It's just that they want to work. And if they're not getting hired over here because of the BS of the unions or the governor, or that gets political, that business, unlike the music business, there's nothing political that has infiltrated the music business other than maybe they don't want to play, at a 4th of July celebration because they don't want to be associated, but that's not. But the industry, film industry, as well as the sport industry, it's become very political oriented. And they're very like, we won't do that, or we know you, or, I mean, I even have people that assume that, well, you live in Nevada, you have an open carry state, and you hang a flag out of your, I'm not allowed at their house anymore in LA. Like, why? I have a flag. I have an American flag. I mean, American flag is my right to be patriotic. You're patriotic, right?
Right.
It's kind of like, okay, well, flag is not anything other than USA, So it's very political based, and a lot of people won't go on talk shows because of this. They won't do this show because of that. They can't do this movie because of that. They have to be, no one wants to hire John Voight because he's too, politically outspoken. And like, guys, take away that and just realize what a great celebrity they are, a great entertainer. But these people want to work. So
and the reverse happens. You have these people who are great actors, but they open their mouths up.
Yeah.
And they push away an audience or a segment of an audience.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, well, don't watch my movie then if you don't like it. And it's like, hold on a second. First of all, it's not your movie. Unless you're Kevin Costner or Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You're not the director, you're not the investor, you're not the distributor. and you're not the star most of
Right.
the time. But you can say something. I might not say this actor's name, but he told people in a recent movie that he had a small part in. Don't watch my movie then if you don't like the fact that I'm I'm anti Trump or anti-conservative or whatever it may be. It's like, to have that audacity is kind of like, what, you're a paid entertainer.
Right.
Entertain and let people decide if they want to see you or not.
Right.
But if you want to cut off that segment of your audience,
Right.
then go ahead and do that. I mean, it just makes no sense to me.
Right.
We're all a group as an artist, which is a musical group as an artist. Let people enjoy the music. Don't make it a controversial thing by saying if you support this or don't support that, don't listen to my music.
Right.
If you don't support this or support that, don't watch my movies.
Right.
Okay, if we're going to act like that now in this world, then we're going to start putting movies over here for a certain group,
Right.
and movies over there for a certain group.
Right.
And now we're just going to segregate everything down the line.
Right.
It's like drawing a line in a house. You stay on this side, I'll
Right.
stay on this side,
Right.
and you don't come on my side of the house, I won't go on your side of the house.
That's right.
You can't reach in my refrigerator for food,
That's
and I
right.
can't reach in yours.
That's right.
Makes no sense.
And you can't make my meatloaf anymore because you think differently than me.
It makes
And
no
it's
sense.
just like
It's like, come on now.
it's way out of hand. And there's a little bit of the music business that people will put in some jabs, but thank God for people to say, "Hey, listen, we came here to do music. We didn't come here to hear you talk about."
Yeah, like people telling,
political
people
stance,
are giving, they're saying Bruce Springsteen needs to keep his mouth shut. Just sing your music.
Yeah.
And even other artists have come out and told him, knock it off. Just
That's why Billy
Be who you
Joel, for
are.
all the years, even ask him. He's gone on record in his documentary. It's like
right.
everybody always tries to squeeze in a political agenda somewhere, and he's like, "Listen, I don't get political because you didn't pay for that. That's not why I'm here. I'm
Right.
not going to sing a song or throw a little jab. I'm not going to throw a little this or that." Roger Waters, you go see him. People know that when you see Roger Waters, you're going to get some form of political agenda initiative thrown in your face.
Right.
It's okay to be passionate, but don't put that on people for,
Don't make them feel bad for coming to your concert.
Yeah.
Don't say, well, if you don't like what I'm saying, you need to leave my concert right now.
Right.
Well, hold on a second here. I just
Right.
paid tickets that you're benefiting from
Right.
and bought merchandise that you're benefiting from.
Right.
And now you're telling me I need to leave because I think different.
Right.
That's not your job to do that. Just entertain. In that case, say, you know what? Before ticket sales, only people who think like this are allowed to buy tickets. Imagine if that was out there.
Well, and you start to see it. And the sad thing is, Scott, you don't know if it's the media taking a tiny nugget the size of a little tiny whatever grain of sand and turning it into a boulder, because that's sometimes what they do. But it's not just the media, known media. It's the everyday person that has a phone, a TikTok, an Instagram. They're going, did you see what happened? Look how heavy so-and-so is. Oh my God. People are very mean. Everybody wants love, kindness, compassion.
Yeah.
But nobody, really knows how to implement love, kindness, compassion.
No.
And it doesn't really matter. I was always raised as the type of person that if somebody different on some level, no matter what that is,
right,
walks into a restaurant, maybe they have an unfortunate handicap, or maybe they're just different. Maybe they just look different in terms of what? They don't look like me. I'm different compared to them.
Sure.
Is don't judge. Don't even acknowledge them. I don't even care about. But sometimes we, as humans, we're forced to create some form of judgment, especially on a plane. We're on a plane and we want the perfect passenger sitting next to us. Well, who is that perfect passenger? Someone who's single and good looking that gives you all this attention? No, somebody that's like, no, now it becomes like, God, I hope they don't talk politics. I hope they're not, smelly. I hope they're not weird.
Overweight.
I hope they're not overweight.
Right.
And to me, that's just posing so much judgment that the perfect person,
or even the clothes they wear, or the hat might say something. The hat has a message on it. I give you a quick example.
Yeah.
I came back from Florida and I went to go see Anthony Raimondi, who's known as Conservative Ant on social media. He's huge and, he's conservative. And I went down to his official Patriot Gear store, met with Ant, and I got a hat and a shirt and everything that says his trademark thing, which is Patriot.
Right.
So I wore that through the airport. I wore that onto the plane.
Right.
Almost in fear in a way that someone was going to point me out and I'm going to be on one of those videos on Instagram
Yeah.
of somebody getting mad at me and pointing their finger, how dare you wear that hat? So it even had me, I'm very patriotic and I really don't care what people think. But even in me, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, God, if I wear this hat, what's the kind of flack am I going to get? Am I going to get looks, rolled eyes? Is someone going to be sitting next to me going, why are you wearing that? And someone going to be videoing me with that? So that was going through my head the whole time flying back from Florida.
Yeah.
It was crazy that, because I usually wear nothing that has anything that has a message on it. Maybe it's just Adidas or some kind of name of an Under Armour or something like that.
Or you offended somebody and somebody in the plane said, sir, would you take the hat off?
But I wore it and I said, I was like, and I, in a way it was like an experiment I did. I wanted to see if I was going to get anything fly, because I had to fly from Florida to Atlanta to Vegas, and so, for me, it was just to see, and I wasn't trying to provoke anything. I enjoyed the hat. I enjoyed the shirt I had on. I just wanted to see, I'm going to wear this because I'm proud to wear it. And I'm a supporter of Ant and I want to be able to wear something and not feel like I shouldn't. It's a free country, right? I want to feel like I can wear something without being judged by it.
Well, even if you decide you want to wear a shirt, first off, it's everyone's right to wear what they want.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
it is. I'm not
whatever the
going to
message
say,
is.
hey, don't wear that shirt.
Yeah.
But you have to read the room.
If
you're going to a family reunion or like language, still to this day, anybody older that married, that's my peers or my parents or my relatives, I never even said the word shit in their presence.
Sure.
Because I respected the fact that they don't want to hear me.
It's a certain audience.
Say, yo, what's with that fucking guy? Zip it, read the room, have respect for your parents, your people, even like law enforcement. I mean, I don't have the experience of getting pulled over by law enforcement, but if I did, I'm going to watch my P's and Q's and yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Or what? It goes with the territory.
Just go with the protocol of it. That's all it is.
That's all it is. You don't have to go like, what the fuck? Like
you see people, I think some people do it for shock value now. When I'm going to film this officer coming up to my car now, I'm going to go, why do I need to do that? I don't have to give you my ID. I don't have to.
It's my American right.
It's like they go through this whole thing to do what? What's the benefit of that?
Yeah.
Instead of you could make this you can turn this stop into 10 minutes instead of an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I want your supervisor now. What's your badge number? What's your name? And you watch these videos over and over again and you look at it and you go, what was the purpose of all this?
Yeah.
If for a simple stop, give you a license, they'll most likely give you a warning and you're on your way.
Yeah. It's
it's
done.
But I think people are doing things for shock value. I think people are doing things because they want to become the next viral thing or they want to create the next viral thing, good or bad, whether it be filming a cruise fight where people on a cruise and they're brawling. And the next thing you know, everybody's posted about brawls that are happening in cruises, or whatever it may be, these cars, doing donuts in the middle of an intersection. Now it's 30 videos and everybody wants to do one of those too. Yeah. It's just, read the room. What are we doing here?
Everyone's an eye reporter. Everyone's this, everyone's that, everyone's this. The good thing I can say circling back is not everyone's trying to be a musician. Not everyone's trying to be a filmmaker. Not everyone's trying to be an actor because, maybe it's boring to them. Maybe they don't know how, maybe they're not too sure. I do like the world we live in today because look what you're able to do with your podcast. And it's not violating anybody. It's taking a creative idea, something that you want to do. You pay the fees, you pay this, you pay the subscription, you can get it on, you talk about this, change the world. These kinds of things change people's lives, especially it's for the better because you don't know. I'm part of a production company with Adrian for probably going on 18 years now. And we film for the Archdiocese here in Nevada. We film Catholic Mass for TV. We go in once a month. We film between 4 and 5 half-hour Catholic Masses, edited down. It airs on the CW, but that airs not only on YouTube, it airs on TV for shut-ins, which means people that are physically can't leave their home, the sick, and for those that are in prison.
Right.
You'd be surprised how many people that are really working on reforming their lives that have done some very devastating things, maybe by accident, they didn't mean to kill somebody, and because it
Right.
was more of rage than it was an act of, meditative idea, that they watch these and it changes people's lives. And it's things like this, like podcasts, and you've got the free form ability to be able to do things the right way and change people's lives. And you don't know, you start to get mail, you start to get, hey, can you come speak at my university? Can you come talk to my kids? My kids are having a hard time. Can you come talk to my sports group? Can you
Right.
talk to the kids? Positive reinforcement. If that's all we have, because giving back in between while we're working on our productions and whatever new projects we have, if that's the platform you have to change people's lives, it's for the better, because you're getting to the masses this way.
Right.
As law enforcement or first responders, you can only change that person's life in that direct contact at
Exactly.
that moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. But once that person leaves, or you've helped the person, they were sick, or you hear the story, they come back and they thank you. They thank the police and fire for saving their life, saving their daughter, saving their
Right.
child. That's a nice feeling. So how do you take that and take it to the masses? This is the only way. So thank God we have this digital platform.
It is, because you get to get guests on, and even if there's only 2 minutes worth of information that resonates with somebody, that's 2 minutes more of information they didn't have before.
Right.
And that 2 minutes could be the deciding factor for getting them kickstarted or motivated or pumped up or create a new idea or foster an idea,
Right.
or parlay an idea. Even just talking to you now, someone's listening to this and they're listening about the music industry, or even if it's not the music industry, take that same mindset and go into something else with it and go, you know what? Eric brought up a lot of good points about if you do this and you work hard at that, and not everything is handed to you. Whatever it may be, that was
Right.
the whole design of this show, which was that, we all make deposits and withdrawals in our own personal vault.
Right.
And we take those failures and these successes that we have in that vault, and then we use both of them,
Right.
the failures and successes, to figure out where to go the next step. And that's kind of what we do here. And what you're talking about as someone who's come on is, whether it be 2 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour's worth of information, there's something in it for somebody.
Right.
To take something from it, like what you guys do when you're filming the Archdiocese.
Right.
Someone in prison, or somebody who's at home, or
Right.
somebody who's not feeling good one day, they take one little piece of that service that you're filming, and you're able to put it on different platforms. Where back in the day when you and I were younger, there was only one platform, TV, and that was it.
And you needed a lot of money, and you needed
That was it.
executives to greenlight it.
With 5 channels, that was all you had.
Yeah, because that's all your clicker did.
That's all you did.
Click 5 times.
You didn't have all these platforms.
No.
400 channels on TV now, all these streaming things,
Right.
all these things on your phone, social media streaming. So there's so many platforms to get the messages out on now,
Right.
that somebody somewhere is going to take something from something you're saying.
Absolutely. And if it changes someone's life, because you don't know what other people go through.
We don't. And you don't know what I always tell somebody, when you see a car in front of you that's going slow, or someone, you don't know what kind of day they're going through. And I'm not saying that, we should look at that and say, they could be blocking a road. But sometimes when I see somebody who's behind the wheel and they're driving slower than the traffic, or they're, you don't know if they're having a bad day, or they could be very old and they just don't know that they shouldn't be on the road anymore, or whatever it may be. I mean, there's a lot of reasons people are doing something. So sometimes you have to take a deep breath before your next action or decision of how you're going to handle something.
Right.
And then sometimes you just have to act.
Right.
I mean, and in those cases, you have to step up. I mean, like what happened in Idaho.
Yeah.
That individual, he exercises two-way right. He acted. He obviously didn't get a chance to take a deep breath, and he had to act. But there's situations that you have to act on right away, and there's other ones you don't have to.
Right.
We could take a breath. We could assess, and then we
Right.
could say, okay, is this really worth me getting angry over right now?
Right.
Is this really worth me getting involved
Yeah.
right now? Because I could either amp this thing up, or I could bring it down a notch, but I don't know, is it worth me getting involved? And then there's some things, like we just saw what happened. You have to get involved if
Yeah.
you have the ability and you have the, I guess, awareness of doing it. Not everybody can do what that guy did. Not everybody can do what that off-duty officer did inside the in and out, but you have to, have that type of personality, or that type of, will to say, I'm going to interject in here and I'm going to do something about it, because you haven't got time to think about it. So I don't know. Because
I know. Just think about the people that helped me, that changed my life. I mean, it wasn't always about getting a gig. And that's the thing. It's like, I tell people, don't worry about trying to get the gig. Don't work so hard. Don't struggle at trying
right,
to get the gig. Just keep living your life. And if you've got, listen, good likes, good likes good, if that makes sense. Positive likes positive. There are dark people out there and they always try to squash the light. But I'd be more apt to
positivity.
help all ages, a kid, a young adult, an older adult, somebody who's in their 70s that doesn't even have a dollar. It just show a little inclination that you're willing to either change or be a
Right,
good person too. Because somewhere deep down inside, there's a good person. I'm not out there to feed all the crazies out there that are looking to come after me, if that's such a thing. But you have to, because you don't know what they're going through. But also, I think about the people that helped me, even going back to the days where I would have never started working in the restaurant if I hadn't been a nosy little surfer skateboarder.
right.
Long hair, driving my skateboard down the street, poked in this window and like, hey, what are you guys building here? What's going on? Oh, I'm building a restaurant. Oh, that's cool. And I go, you're hiring? And the guy goes, not like that. Because I was,
Sure. Like a
shorts, hair
skater
was down
dude.
to
Yeah.
here. And I said, oh, bummer. And I went off and he goes, hey, but if you want to cut your hair, I'll give you a job. I go, no, you won't, And he goes, yeah, I'll give you a job if you want to cut your hair. Because he saw how long it was.
Sure.
He goes, you won't cut your hair, will you? And I said, yeah, I'll cut my hair. And he goes, in fact, I'll even pay for it. Gave me like $10 or whatever it was. Right?
Sure.
I went down and a day or two later, I cut my hair. I came back. It was pretty short. He remembered. And he goes, are you serious? You want a job? I said, I just wanted to buy my drums. And he gave me a job working in a restaurant. Crappy. I think it was dishwasher or something.
But it's something. It was something.
It was something.
It gave you it. It didn't
gave it
push
to
you
me.
away. It didn't, sometimes, again, you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what their goals are.
Right.
And like you said, you don't mean to feed into every crazy out there. There are
Right.
people out there that are crazy. There are people that don't deserve our attention, for sure. I mean, I can say that wholeheartedly. There are people that don't deserve your attention, but there are people that do, that are afraid to ask. And if you take a step back and you can analyze them a little bit, you might go, you know what? This person might be worth helping. Kind of like that guy who was opening the restaurant looked at you and said, you know what? This kid might be somebody I need to help. And if I can help him out, if he's willing to do this one thing, I'm willing to give him a job.
Well, and he became one of my greatest mentors, because from that point on, I was eager to learn the restaurant business. I didn't realize I could work hard and make better money than paper routes and buy more drums and buy more equipment.
Sure.
Support my good habit, which was my music, and meet people, learned every position in the restaurant. He's the guy that said, hey, if you want to, I'll put you through chef school if you want to take it serious. I think it kind of upset him when I became a chef, and a year later I quit because I got a record deal. He's like,
but that's good.
I thought you're going to be,
but that's good. I mean, at least he was there to give you some sort of start.
Yeah.
Until the dream started coming true.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it that, your goal is to get drums. I need to have a job. And I think deep down, the owner probably thought, as much as he liked you and a hard worker you were, this wasn't your career choice.
No, it wasn't. I was
because
young.
If you said you're going to buy drums, they obviously knows that. And now, what's the shot of you becoming a rock star at the time? Slim to none, right? It's like becoming a star actor or anything else. But you had the drum set. Now you had the means to try and strut your stuff and get people to listen.
That's exactly right. And you don't realize that when you're younger and you're going to culinary school, you don't really think, well, this is not what I want to do. Like kids today, they have no options, but they act like they maybe have options, and the sense of entitlement sprinkled on, they end up doing nothing. And it's like, no, we had options. It was simpler times.
Sure.
Those opportunities back then still happen today. Because
Right.
if I meet somebody who's, I find them all the time where it's like, somebody comes by who just happens to, work at your house as a handyman, and he's smart enough to know, and you trust him. Hey, do you also do like decking? Yeah, I do decking. Hey, do you want to do this? Because you trust. Hey, you don't by chance know a guy that does concrete? Well, I do concrete too.
Right.
Oh, do the concrete. So you piggyback off of the smart ones that maybe are there to help you. You're there to help them. And it does kind of factor in to the point where you meet younger kids that have car washing businesses that are mobile.
Right.
And you're like, hey, great job, man. He's 18, going through, finishing up high school. He's got a mobile car wash unit. You know what? Hey, you turn him on to a friend, a neighbor, a kid. Next thing you know, within 6 months, you've given him 20 clients.
Right.
And they're like, you know what? They come back and they go, hey, I'll never forget what you did, man. You really helped me out through that time. And hey, I didn't do anything. I just wanted other people to enjoy your excitement and your enthusiasm and your talents to put some money in your pocket
Right.
because you're really passionate about what you're doing and we can trust you. That's excitement. That's almost like it's a reflection of what I saw in myself back when I was 17, 18, 19, going to culinary school, just trying to be a musician. Didn't know how to do it, didn't know when it was going to happen, but you end up doing something that's like,
You do many different things. I mean,
yeah,
it's you go back, like you said, to those ages. I mean, I remember going when I was in college, I was minoring in theater and I was majoring in political science, but that theater part was what I wanted to do most because I wanted to go into acting or learn how to
right,
get in the film business. But I need to pay for college. I
right,
didn't come from a rich family where I had to get paid for my college. So, but I thought of jobs that I could do that would help me gain some of that thing. So here's what I did. I worked 3 jobs to
right,
pay for schooling and to pay where I could live while I was going to school. But I went and got a job at a fitness center
right,
so I could get a free membership and work out to keep in shape. And you meet a
right.
lot of people in a gym,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The
Easily.
second job I got that I would go to, I worked at a high-end men's clothing store
Oh, wow.
called Gatsby's. And I mean, they were selling Armani's, Hugo Boss suits and everything. So because I was an employee there, I got 50% off. So now I was able to get Hugo Boss and Armani suits. I was dressing like at $1 million when I was
Right.
18, 19 years old. The third job I was a bouncer on the weekends at a rock club. And there were groups like Zebra, Winger, Tour de Force,
Right.
groups like that going through there. So now I was
Right.
hanging out in green rooms, Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I got to meet people in the industry.
Sure.
So, but I got to wear nice clothes at the same time.
And you're working
and
out.
I'm working out.
Like, yeah.
And it being young at 18 and 19, I can invite people. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to come to my club, get them in the door,
sure.
because Ace Frehley's playing tonight or John Entwistle, he played there. So people like that. So I had a method to my madness that young people aren't doing today. Like I chose to work 3 jobs, but they all benefited me to my ultimate goal, which is to get into the business, get into doing things. Just like your thought, I need to buy drums. Okay, but I'm going to learn to go into culinary school. I'm going to learn how to be a chef. And so it's like you're doing things where it meets the ends of the means that you're getting to.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's no creativity like that now.
And you still do it. And with those work ethics, you grow up with that. And still to this day, it's like, I'm not afraid to pick up some pavers if I have to.
No,
I'm not afraid
at all.
to go. Now, when I start a business, no, I'm not going to start a business at my age
No.
because it's not. But I'm not afraid to pick up and go work. If somebody says, hey, can you come help me out? Or I need this, or I need go this. I mean, whatever it might be, it's like, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Exactly.
Because many times, listen, I've had it many times. I've had to drive my own drums, set up my own drums, schlep my gear, as it's called, because I wasn't in the rock band yet that had people that did that for you, which I've had those many, many years.
Sure.
Same thing in the movie business. I mean, you don't know how many times, even on our movie Kindred, I was schlepping gear.
Yeah.
We
were loading things in and out. There was no honey wagons.
No,
there wasn't there was nothing like that.
We loaded out that one building where we built that.
I think craft services was your mom.
Yeah. And she made the food and she was, what's ironic, she knew how to do that because growing up as a kid, she worked for a craft service company in LA. So she did all the craft services.
It was great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, she did all the craft services on Bonanza, Mannix, Barnaby Jones, like all the cop shows.
It was great. It was,
so she knew how that works. So she's like hustling. And at the time, she was in, 79, just turning 80. And she's like, all right, bring this over here and do this. And
it was one of the better craft services I've had.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I've been on some pretty decent sets and that your mom did was incredible.
Yeah.
It was.
And that was old programming.
That was great.
For her, it was like getting back on that bike that she did 50 years prior because she knew it. And it's, but my parents, I know we talked about a lot today, but my parents gave me the best advice and they were always supporters because I did go to college and I did do things.
Sure,
so
of course.
They weren't the traditional. My dad was in the arts. My mother was in the arts in her side of the world.
Right.
And they were the type of people that said, listen, if you're not going to play your drums or you're not going to do your creative craft,
right,
get rid of it.
Sure.
Sell it. and go the other direction. But if you're going to play it, commit to it, make it happen, because you never know what's going to come out of it. And that's the reason why when I said, because there was a part of me that said, nah, I don't want to do culinary. I'll just continue to work and then work. Like, you didn't really have it planned out as a youngster back in the day. You just did it one more. The spontaneity was much more higher on the list than it was the being pragmatic and overly thinking it. But my mother said, listen, you're going to go to culinary school because you don't know where your life's going to end up later on. And doesn't mean you have to go make a restaurant, but you don't really know where you're going to need it and if you're going to need it. So she understood that part. So, I don't know when my drumming switched over to professional drumming, to professional musician. It just seemed like it happened. Maybe it didn't. I can't really remember that because there was so much going on between working in the studio and entrenching yourself in the core of that stuff that it helped me much later on in life with culinary when I ended up getting hired on to produce a food segment. That it was like I combined both worlds in that world. And you're like, oh, you do it like this. And I saved the company thousands and thousands of dollars because my background was in culinary. And they're like, oh, gosh, thank you. This really helped us. So it does, to kind of have a well-rounded. I mean, years ago, it was always jack of all trades. People made fun of you. Well, jack of all trades, master of none. But that's not true. You could be a jack of all trades, master of all.
Quite a few. I mean, all those past
it's,
experiences get used. I mean, whether, like you said, you take some of those experiences you had and then you do something for the Food Network, it's like anything else that you do, like even myself, the fact that I was more in the film and TV,
right?
Me learning the music side of things, having worked at a rock venue,
right,
and meeting a lot of these rock musicians, I got a better understanding for it. So when I worked on music videos, what I had a chance to work on. So in my early days of doing television, so working on music videos, well, I knew a lot of something about the music world, and I was able to talk to you as a musician and a person who's been in the music world. I understand it because I've had brushes with it at that point, and it's like me having done stuff and working in a fitness venue. At that time, I got to work out with guys from the New York Rangers hockey team, and they had fun and invited me out to a practice one time on ice. I worked out with guys from the New York Knicks and guys from the World Wrestling Federation at the time, when it was the WWF. So, and they're entertainers, so you don't know where to lead you to. And I actually became friends with one of the guys at WWF for a long time, Classy Freddie Blassie. He was, became a mentor, and so you never know where some of these people, and even the store I worked at in college, at Gatsby's, all these high-end clothing, some of the clients that came and were well-known people, that worked in Hollywood, that would buy suits, well-known business people that were big names on Wall Street. So you never know who you might meet. And so for me, you take that experience that you had then and you're able to use it throughout your life. Wherever it may be. So.
And people are, it's so true, Scott. And people are more apt to, even nowadays, like if you don't keep yourself out there and keep yourself in the mix, people forget about you.
They will.
Or they don't know what you do. And it's not even, it's not about going out to look for a gig. It's just about going out there to meet new people, find out what's out there, put yourself in the mix, in the fold of life.
Right.
And it's not about going out and just having dinner with your girl and saying, oh, we're not, like, you really need to go out. And if you get invited to, go play golf with somebody, go play golf, even if you're not a great golfer, because you never know, just to put yourself back in the mix or keep yourself in the fold where somebody says, hey, I have maybe you're looking for financing on a film, because you're not going to get the next project financed, the next record made, the next project done if you're just sitting in your little home and you're watching some show.
You can't will it some of that stuff.
What I mean? And you're trying to argue with the neighbor because their dog smells or whatever it is. It just puts you've got to get yourself in the mix. Only because I say that for entrepreneurs and self-made people like us, because the days of being an executive at Sony are gone. The days of being an A&R director at a record company are gone. the days of, I mean, yeah, sure, there's still CEOs and CFOs of big companies, but
Right.
you're not going to get, you're not going to get a job working as a producer at Shark Tank.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, not going to happen.
That's a whole nother ball game when that happens. And besides that, those are usually a lot of younger kids that are just, hustling, putting things together. And
Right.
you're not going to learn anything by going working in the newsroom down here in Vegas, because there's nothing to really learn other than, get it done, get it done, get it done, get it done. They push.
Yeah,
Because,
you're not going to learn that. Yeah.
it's so putting yourself out there in your world of whatever it might be. I know you're very active in your world, but you're also very passionate about everything to do with horses. But it doesn't mean that you're going to go compete, but to put yourself in the arena because you like the rodeo and you like horses, just go and insert yourself in that world. And then you're showing up as already a top tier person. You're not showing up as a fan novice. I don't know what's going on. You're already showing up as like,
Yeah.
a guy.
Yeah.
You're already a guy that's already in that world.
Right.
But to put yourself back in that world and on the platform, people are going to either say like, oh, good to see you again. How you been? Or it's going to be, oh, I didn't know you did that. Or, hey, I've got this because you helped. And that's the only real way that self-made entrepreneurs keep working. It's like if you're into real estate and you hustle deals and you turn and burn property, the only way of doing it is you got to put yourself out there and do it. You're not going to do that world. You can't become a day trader if you don't trade stocks.
Yeah. And you can't, it's like you can't sell homes unless you do open houses and meet people to sell the home.
Exactly.
Just posting it on Zillow won't sell the home.
No.
So, I mean, it goes to any job. Like you say, and let's face it, if you're a real estate agent, you're entrepreneurial. If you're looking to go into any business, you're entrepreneurial. You're learning from somebody to get to the point. Like if you're going to go into a trade, whether you're a welder, plumber, electrician, you're an entrepreneur because at some point you might decide to have your own plumbing company, your own welding company, your own electrical company, your own landscaping company, whatever it may be, your own tree service. So in a way, even if you work for somebody else, you're entrepreneurial because at some point you might say, I want to have my own.
Right.
Well, how are you going to get your own? You got to learn how to run a business. What it costs to run a business. How much does it cost for the gas? Things like that. How many vehicles do I need in my fleet? All that goes into play. So, anybody who's listening to this, you're an entrepreneur no matter what business you get into for the most part.
That's right.
Unless you're working for the government.
Well, and then you're just a paycheck person. And I know so many of those people.
Yeah. And then that's okay. There are people that need that paycheck who just want to get the retirement.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that at all. But if you're going to go into a business and you want to have a business, go work for another business. Because if you go work for another business, that is prepping you to own your own business, whether you believe it or not. Whether the owner of that business wants you to have your own business or not, the fact that you show up every day, you are learning the business. It could be a cigar lounge. It could be a bar. It could be a laundromat. It could be, a
donut shop, whatever.
You can learn it.
And
if you go in there with the mindset of learning a business, that's your college education. That's your after high school education right there.
That's right.
If there's any advice we can give on that would be one of the things I say is that whatever you go into, that's your education, man. Make it what you want to make it.
You can. And the other thing I always tell people that if you're not too sure what you want to do today, that's okay. Just remember tomorrow will come and the next day will come. But years will go by and you don't realize by doing something 5 years prior connected the thread 5 years forward.
Right.
And you don't really know, but you don't go into it knowing. But before you decide to say, hey, I'm later in life, because a lot of people now are taking the retirement life first and then they decided to go work or whatever. But a lot of people that, whether it be doctors, lawyers, not so much lawyers, but first responders, or just people that when you're vested, they want to pull their pension at 45, they're out, or 40, they're out, or 51, they're out, and they don't know what to do. And I had a buddy back east that said, oh, my wife and I, we decided we always wanted a little diner. So we opened up a diner. And I go, Jerry, do you know anything about diners? He goes, well, that wasn't I was hoping a little more positive response. And it's like, well, maybe just investigate it first or go work in one.
Go work in one.
Go
work in one.
And sure enough, 4 years later to this day, he's like really considering closing the doors because it's aging him. He's tired. He's not even that old. I think he's like 55.
Right, but it does age you. I mean, when you run your own business, it
ages you.
Yeah.
It's used a lot of their money. They didn't know what they were getting into. And it's like,
yeah.
dude, like you gotta just, as long as you have a heartbeat, never stop learning, never stop educating yourself and learning what it's about, maybe before you even go into it. If it's always been your passion. My mother, up until the day that she passed away, she's like, I still think you should have a restaurant. It's like, not my thing.
Right.
I don't want a restaurant,
Yeah.
but if Scott, you want to come over and bring your gal and bring your family, I'll cook for you.
Right.
That's different.
Sure.
I'll cook for anybody at my house all day, all night long.
Yeah, but you're not going to start a restaurant.
I'm not going to start a restaurant because that's a whole nother beast.
It's a whole other thing. I mean,
whole other beast.
I mean, I remember being a bartender. I was a bar manager years ago in my early 20s, right after the stint of doing some jobs in college. I would never open a bar. I mean, I learned a lot from the owner then. I mean, I sucked up knowledge about a bar, about what percentage you need to be at to make money and how much you should be on your liquor costs. And let me tell you something, I still know to this day, but I would never open a bar. I know first of all, it's not my passion. And second of all, even if it was, I need a little bit more education in that area.
Right.
I really do. I know what my limitations are,
right.
You know, but if I was going to go open a bar, I'd probably go find a friend of mine who has a bar, ask him if I could start working there on a couple of days a week and bartend, and then shadow them.
Yeah.
And figure out, is this really something I'm going to do for those people who are retired now and want to dump their money into something?
Right.
Don't go with impulsive. Don't do the first thing that pops in your head because you had a dream of owning a bar or a restaurant or a diner. You know, it's like, don't do it just because it was a passion. You know, I have a lot of passions. I'm not going to do them. Would it be nice to own a bar? Absolutely. But I don't think I can own a bar.
Right.
I don't have the know-how to do it, even though I may have worked in one when I was younger, but I don't even have the gumption to go get hired by somebody. Even if they're a friend of mine and said, Scott, I can't pay you, but if you want to play around in my bar as a bartender, go ahead and do it. I wouldn't even do that. It's just not in my wheelhouse to want to do it. But you're right. If someone investigate it, if it really is going to be a passion.
Because even the passionate, you know, I was truly I'm very fortunate and blessed. So I was, you know, don't live by this, but if it were to end, God forbid, out of the blue tomorrow, I would never look back with regret because I did so much, you know, and it's not I don't have the 18 million platinum selling albums I did, but that's not the important part why I did it.
Right.
It's the fact is I did do it on the same level. It's the same thing. The only difference is more money over here for Billy Joel than me. You know what I mean? But it's the same experience. Be on the Concorde, fly on the planes, do the venue, do this, do that. And to look back and go, wow, what a beautiful opportunity to be able to do that. But I will say that anybody that says, wow, what a great lifestyle, it's hard work.
Right.
Very hard work. But so is being a doctor. So is being a lawyer. So is being rocket scientist. Whatever job you want to throw in there. You think it's easy work? You think it's easy playing Major League Ball? It's hard work. And their career starts at 6 because you started 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're groomed to the point, and then you're lucky if you get the majors. You'll probably get in the majors, but first you have to play in, you know, the farm teams or even NFL. You go from college, hopefully you get that. It's hard work. And then your career is a lot short-lived because God forbid you get hurt. Your career is over at 26. Maybe you make it to 32. Tom Brady's and people like that.
And you're not even making the money that some of these people are making.
It's a phenom. I mean, to still throw a ball at 40 is you could put 5 people on your hand who did that.
Sure.
And it's hard work. Anything you do that's passionate is hard work, but it's not miserable hard work because you love it so much that the passion takes over.
Right.
It's like goes to the forefront and puts the hard work behind you. You don't realize like, wow, what hard. You never complain about getting on planes and getting up at 4 a.m. to go to do Today's Show, Good Morning America, then flying to London and doing Wembley Arena. And everyone thinks like, wow, that's glamorous. And then you go to Korea, then you go to Australia, and then you fly here, you play this. And like, oh God, we got sick. Oh, someone took our equipment. Oh, this broke. You don't get on a plane going, this sucks, because you're living out your passion.
Sure.
But when you look back 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years later, and when I knew I had to take a break was 9/11 and the act I was touring with, because the way they treated us, I'll leave that name out.
Right.
But left us in Canada and I had to get myself home. I finally got myself home. I felt like I had to smuggle myself back into the US because there were no flights. And I looked at my American Airlines flight
Right.
statement and I had 382,000 air miles.
That's
and
crazy.
I was physically tired. I didn't hate the business, but I went, I
You
gotta take
you
a
got to take a
break.
break.
I gotta take a break.
382,000 miles. Yeah.
Time out, time out, time out. It took me a long time to use those miles before they expired and have some fun with it, but I had to take a break. And it was during that break that I moved, relocated here, and decided I want to do something different. I want to find out who I am,
Sure.
not on the road.
Right.
And that's when I kind of went, well, that's when I did the filming and the whole. So anyway, so sometimes the tragedy or a massive
Right.
change of life is an opportunity to do a reset and go, you're not angry with the world. You're just, I want to figure out what else I can
Yeah.
do
You just want to
that's
take a
passionate and a reset.
Right.
And then the two worlds come together because now you're doing filming and editing, but for music projects.
Right.
And you're doing it for your friends. And now your friends are hiring you because they like the way you do videos.
Right.
Music videos. So that's when you combine the worlds. And that's when it's fun as you get older and the experience and more seasoned, you're now able to combine the worlds and it just happens. You don't,
Again, you're going into your personal vault and you're taking some of those failures and successes and you're using them later on and you're combining them in a way, and sometimes you don't take those things out of your personal vault till later on in life.
right.
Sometimes you leave them in there forever, but you have it there. And the more you put in, the more you're able to withdraw. And a lot of people, like you said, there are a lot of people today, they don't put enough in their vaults. So when it comes time to withdraw something, they don't know what to do.
Right.
They don't know what to withdraw on. So you collect all these things throughout your life. You get involved in different things. Keep it in your vault. You may never use it. You may never withdraw it. But at some point, when you go to make a withdrawal, you got to pull it out.
Sure.
And I always tell people, there's an old saying, a friend of mine, he's a college football coach with Lou Holtz. And he said to me, sometimes in life you have to drop back and punt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just drop back and punt.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be on the offensive. Drop back and punt it away.
Yeah.
And you'll get the ball back.
Right.
And then you get to run with it. But right now, you know what? When things get a little hectic, slow down, stop, punt the ball away.
Yeah.
And just know that at some point you're going to get it back and then you're going to make another run at it.
Yeah.
And that's the best advice I ever got in life from a friend of mine years and years and years ago. And I still tell people to this day that exact piece of advice: drop back and punt. That's it. So,
it's funny. It's because I once did a corporate gig with Lou Holtz and he had a book.
right.
It was here in Vegas many, many, many years ago. And he's like, I think after he was a motivational speaker and afterwards he goes, I think I want to go out and maybe sign some books. And I go, well, there's a lot of people out there, Lou.
Right.
And I didn't know him. And he's like, well, maybe just a couple. And I said, well, there's going to be no way you can have 200 people line up and you not sign but 50 books. And it's not going to work that way.
Sure.
So I can either go out and collect 50 books and bring people in like a private meet and
Right.
greet. He goes, no, step aside, kid. And I was, step aside, And he went out and sat down. And sure enough, so many people lined up from the private event.
And he signed every
He
one
signed
of
all
the
the
books.
books. And when he was done, he goes, I can't believe you made me sign over 200 books. And I go, yeah, but you did it.
You did it.
And I said, you did it. And I said, you kept going and you're a winner. And he goes, that's kind of my line in life. He was kind of crusty a little bit, by that time he signed 200 books. So he signed my book and he said, Eric, continue to be the winner that you are, Lou. Put the thing down there like, but it's so true. And it's, I know we've spoken so much about it, but, and I know you got to be careful the words that you say, but I worked with this Canadian artist for years that Gene Simmons really, really took a liking to Sass Jordan and was going to help her out early on in her career. And,
Right.
and I wasn't involved in that period when Gene was involved, but many, many, many years later, we were doing a charity event here and Gene was there and he knew I played with Sass and he goes,
Right.
oh, I really love Sass and whatever happened to her. And she's still in Canada, still making records. Good. 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 I remember telling her years ago when she was looking for a record deal and she wanted to either play bass or be a singer. And he goes, Sass, there's only two things in this world, winners and losers. Which one are you? And he told me that. And you got to be careful because, a lot of people take offense with the word losers. It
Sure.
doesn't mean that you're a typical loser, but
Right.
it's like, it's so true in this business. It's like, if you're going to fight, go be a winner, because to be a professional athlete, UFC, golfer, NASCAR, everyone's a winner, truly a winner.
Right.
And when you win the race, it only just means that you shined a little bit more that day.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that everyone else on your team are losers,
Right.
but they don't get the trophy. That's okay, because you only get one trophy that day. There is only truly one winner.
Right.
But you like to be out there and be successful and to really win. You go win it, man. Win it. Win it. If you don't know, you fake it till you make it, and you achieve it. And the smallest little accolade, which is a door open,
Right.
that's the trophy for the day. That's the trophy for the
Right.
week. That's the trophy for the month. It's because it gets you in the door, and it's what you do with it takes you to the next level. If you don't do anything with it, then I don't know what to tell you, brother. You know what I mean?
Well, thanks, Eric. That was
Yeah.
great. We got a lot of information. You and I could talk for hours.
We could.
We always do.
Yeah.
And it's
we could.
always new stuff and good stuff. But
Thank you, Scott.
thanks for coming on the podcast. I'm sure at some point I'll have you back on again. We can get into some other things that I always seem to talk about.
Yeah.
I think every day is a podcast between you and I. When we sit down and have lunch or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, we will look forward to seeing Eric's podcast soon as it drops. And then we'll look forward to the next podcast after that for many of our many guests that are coming on. You have a great day and kick back. Real story, real people.
Cheers.